I'll concede your point just for brevity, but
What? Brevity? We don't do that around here. It's probably
No.
Citrus, or what is a Capital One Bowl? It used to be Citrus Bowl, right?
oh
Yeah,
my
Capital
God,
One
dude,
Bowl.
where have you been?
I just like the real name.
It hasn't been the Citrus Bowl since like what 2002?
What was your highlight side dish from Thanksgiving?
Oh gosh, Scotch.
This is the Buck Around, the podcast devoted to all things Wisconsin Badger football from a fan perspective. Featuring your hosts, Richard Branch and Maxwell Brusky.
And hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Buck Around. Welcome back to episode 372 of the Buck Around. I am one half of the Buck Around, Richard Branch, joined as always by my counterbalancing colleague, Maxwell Brusky. Max, how are you, sir?
I'm good. This is the first episode of 2026.
Happy New Year. Good
Happy
point.
New Year to everybody.
Indeed, we are back. We did our end of year hiatus, went quiet, and we've arrived. We're back. You know what? We make it a case. We're like Marcus Sedbury. I'll tell you it right in. All of a sudden, Marcus Sedbury just
love it.
appears in January. I've been wondering who this. He was like Puxatawny Phil before this. Like you saw him pop his head up for a second, and then he was gone. But now
Well,
he's everywhere, and he does a decent interview.
Much like Phil, I mean, this is his time to shine, right?
Yes. I mean, I'm more interested in him than the Reddit AMA.
You're more interested in him rising than shining, perhaps. But
Sure. I'm just interested in him doing something. Yeah, no, I mean, the other big news, of course, while we were gone was maybe a former player did a Reddit AMA on the Badger subreddit, which at first I thought was fake until I read it, and the takes in it are so like lukewarm that I think it might actually be a lie.
yeah.
Because most of the answers are like, actually, your theories are pretty psychotic. It's like not that big a difference between these people.
No, it's not. But it was funny because thanks to everybody who sent it, right?
Yeah, there was like 9 different people.
Yeah,
Yes.
like,
Stop sending it to us.
Yeah, right.
Like, appreciate you thinking of us, but stop sending it. We know about it.
No, and I was thinking the same thing because I'm like, who would like run an op like that? You know what I mean? Like, who would do that? Who would bother to do that?
Max, you clearly haven't been on Reddit very much. There's a lot of LARPing.
There is, but like, who would do that? So I came to the conclusion that it was authentic.
Yeah. How about authentic adjacent at the least? It's authentic enough.
Yeah. It's not enough there to rule it out, but
and it's not
the whole
that
thing
interesting.
was really weird, and unless it was the long-awaited Braylon Allen disclosure.
Yeah, I guess. And you know what? I don't know. Like, great. I didn't feel like I really gleaned anything. I thought it was funny. More like it was not funny, not like funny, like ha ha funny, but like
yeah,
it was intriguing. And you're like, all right, well maybe that's true, and maybe it's not, and I'm never gonna know, and I'm not gonna draw any conclusions from it. And thanks for giving me 35 minutes of entertainment, and I'm moving on with my life. So if you haven't seen it, go look at it. I forget where to. Just go on Reddit and go in the Badgers subreddit, and you'll find it. Enough of that. Should we talk about more substantial things, like things that we actually know are happening and are real, specifically in the transfer of portals?
I think we should. It's the vibe is a little different.
Okay. Why do you think the vibe is different?
No, different from the season.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Why do you think it's different?
I think there's some exciting players in there.
Okay.
I don't know if there's outside. I think Colton Joseph is I think that's a premier pickup. And I feel like they're like, just like reloading with guys that appear to be a little bit better than the last couple crops, I guess, and in volume. You know what I mean? It's like there's a rebuilding going on. I don't know if it's enough to say, oh man, it's this is a playoff, but there's enough there to be happy about. I'll tell you that. I feel like. I think one of the discussions you were having yesterday was pretty fascinating on the social media in terms of who they've kind of replaced. When last we talked, it was, the portal wasn't open yet, so it was all departures.
Yeah.
And then since the additions happened, there's been a couple more departures, which I think were interesting. I think Agar was probably the most surprising one.
Well, it's an odd one to me. Like,
yeah, me too.
I'm kind of puzzled by it because, we talked about before, like the Fickle strategy shifts, right? So year one was this is going to be a program built through high school recruiting, blah, 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 blah. And I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that I don't think they realized what the portal was going to be then. And he has talked pretty openly for him about how he's
Yeah.
had to adapt and change and blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
And
Part of his journey.
part of his his learning journey. He was journaling about it. And so I guess I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that. But then 3 weeks ago, he's like, we're looking for a core group of high school players to build out who can play early. And, those are your high school guys, but a lot of your roster is going to be portal. So which lines up with this? They're at 27 guys, I think, right now in the portal.
27 in or 27 out?
Sorry, 26 coming in. Excuse me.
26 coming in.
Yeah, not 20. So I'm looking at my numbers over on the other screen and I was looking at the wrong line. It's 26 players in as of Tuesday morning here. And I'm sure there's going to be a couple more, but the material concept would change. But, so the idea is you're going to bring 27 portal guys in, but you're going to bring half of that every year, or 26 portal guys, let's say, and half of that in a recruiting class. So say it's maybe 12 and 25 every year, right? That's your churn and your burn and who you're bringing in.
Right.
Well, the idea being the 12 you bring in out of the high school level are guys that are going to play early. And like, I look at Agard and it's like, I don't think he was any superstar. Early. He did. He played, well, I know the number now, 304 snaps from scrimmage this year, right? And he started 3 games. And does it mean he's a great player? No, but I would argue outside of Robinson, the resumes of guys you're bringing in are basically the same. And they're in the same class. It's not like you're bringing in older guys. I guess you're banking on, these guys were prior, some of them are prior relationships. I think 3 of them are prior relationships that they had on staff. And it's like, well, they really know the player, blah, 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 blah. But I'm like, yeah, but this is when you had in-house. Right. And I'm assuming Agard, just because of the timing, he wasn't planning on leaving because he would have already been in the portal. Right. Like it doesn't make sense to enter late unless
you think
you're, they basically fill over top of you. And that would make sense because they brought in 4 corners in his class or older. So you kind of go like, well, what do you? Okay. Because like it doesn't feel coherent to me unless you're saying you just don't think he's any good, which may be the truth. But for me, this staff has lost my confidence in their ability to evaluate because they haven't shown me that they can do that consistently.
Well, and that's kind of, for me, that's really kind of I don't want to say it's cast a pall over all, the entire transfer portal segment of the season, as part of the non-playing portion. But it really has, and I've talked to people because there's excitement in bringing in this player, that player, or, Colton Joseph. And, at the same time, I'm like, well, yeah, they still got to coach him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't know. I mean, because again, the second half of the season, there's certainly some bright spots there. So there's that. So when you said what you said about recruiting over, a high school player who started 4 games, you didn't have a reference in there. And at that point, I had not realized that Agard had put his name into the portal.
It was like 10 minutes after he did it. Yeah,
it was. No, I know you were on top of it. I was not. And I was thinking like, who are you talking about? And actually, when I went back and looked, as I looked at our, your roster chart, and I'm looking over, and the most logical person was Gideon Ituka. And I'm like, wait a minute. Okay. And then, I scrolled down and then I saw Agard. So think of this though, that like Ituka, like Agard, if Forkrian is there, he's not, he probably doesn't play.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That wasn't like high school player playing early because, it wasn't Xavier Lucas, who will sit out the first half of the national championship game or whatever that's worth to people. But it wasn't like that. Like that dude had to be on the field at some point his freshman year. Agard wasn't in that category. And neither was Ituka. Those guys only played because of the injuries or because of because somebody wasn't there that was slated to be there. Now, I don't know how much they counted on Forkarian winning his challenge college, which is still kind of crazy when you consider the Pavias and now Trinidad Chambliss and all this, that he never that he was the guy who said no. They said no to him for whatever reason. But you know what I mean, though? I see what you're saying, and it's interesting that he didn't put his name in at the beginning, so probably he didn't expect to leave and essentially got recruited over, at least in his eyes. And I don't know if the staff felt that way, if they're just trying to fill the room with people, which I felt like in the running back room, that's what you're doing.
Well, I mean, they did the same thing to Dylan Jones. I mean, that's why Dylan Jones is in the portal.
Right.
So again, whatever you want to say.
You know what I mean, though. I don't know if it really is. It's it's the ultimate fluid situation.
Yes, but it also, for me, it just feels like, maybe there's something on the back end there, because you hear stuff, who knows what's real. I mean, Dylan Jones was a guy who you thought, 9 months ago was your best running back. And then you're bringing in, okay, I mean, Sama is like a notch above. Like, he has significant playing experience. I get it. That's your bell cow day one. I truly get it.
Yeah.
Right. But the other two you're bringing in are just older or less proven versions. I mean, to me, are less substantive versions of Dylan Jones. Like, Dylan Jones was a starter on a terrible team. And I'm like, okay, like, he's not bad. Gideon Atuka has a very bad injury.
Yeah.
That's been reported. And so it's kind of like, I don't get, again, if you're building from players playing early, you've just put two of them out there. And I mean, I scratch my head. Like, I know Agard, like, they threw Agard to the fire. He played a lot. What was it? Ohio State and Oregon. He wasn't great, wasn't terrible. But I mean, that you could say that about the whole team. I mean, the secondary wasn't very good, period. But
No.
I don't get it. I guess for me, it's always comes back to the coherence, and we're talking too much about Agard.
Yeah. But I would say to that, though, that it's the ultimate fluid situation.
Yeah, fair enough.
And it's and not only that, there's money involved, there's
Yes.
kids involved.
Yes.
So you throw, it's a fluid situation.
True.
So I just don't know if you can take anything that you can apply elsewhere.
You might be right. I think you are perhaps justifiably being more charitable in this situation than I am. I think at this point I am in the spot where I have to be convinced what they're doing isn't wrong.
Well,
or at least the needle pointing towards wrong.
right. Like I said,
my
you still
mind
got to
can be
coach them.
changed. Yeah.
You still got to coach them.
And my mind can be changed, but right now it's not. Other two kind of like, or three other names I did want to talk about.
Mhm.
I was going to say Hilton coming back, I think is kind of interesting. I mean, that one weirdly didn't totally shock me. I think some of that is just put your name in the portal early, be smart about it. And like,
Right.
he's got to have, it's like putting your toes in, you're straddling the line here. I don't know. I was going to say something where you're dipping your toe in the water in two different water, but that doesn't make sense because then you're falling in the water. Like that one didn't totally shock me. That was more like, let's see what happens while they go get a quarterback. Right. Because that's what it really came down to for him is, can I get, it's going to be, do they get a quarterback where I can actually catch a ball?
Yeah.
So I don't end up like Jaden
That's
Ballard.
how I felt too. Yeah. That's how I felt too.
So that one didn't shock me. Good one to come back.
He's an interesting one though too, because he had his name out there, which I was a little bummed about it, but I wasn't terribly surprised. Okay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not like somebody scooped him up and threw him a bag.
Yeah. I think he got his offers.
Yeah.
I think it established market value for him probably.
Yeah.
And I that family doesn't strike me as dumb. Like I think they know what they're doing.
No.
And they're also not rash. Like there isn't a lot of he doesn't like when you hear him talk, he seems like a pretty level-headed guy, right?
Yes.
So he did
which makes me feel good about him coming back.
Right. I mean, like he feels like a guy who could give you something. Like he he wants to. He's good to invest in it while they invest in him. But you know what I mean? It's like I can do this. I can do this, and I know my way around here. And which again, though, it's not like he's like if he was fleeing a toxic situation, he'd be gone. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I think that's pretty noteworthy. I don't take the same thing from Perkins. So he's an interesting one I want to talk about.
You could okay. So there you go.
The best line was, who said this to me? Oh, I think it was our friend Andy, our friend Prop Andy. His best line was, I just learned this week that Charles Perkins is actually really good. I'm like, he played 75 snaps. Like, I get it. I get you want, 73 snaps from scrimmage.
Is that it?
Yeah.
my gosh.
I mean, I get there was some injury stuff in there, but like in that,
Yeah.
they brought in 8 million defensive linemen and he looked big, he was a big deal in spring, blah, 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 blah. He ended up
He
way
was.
down the list. Who knows what the deal on the retention is? Reading between the lines on the reporting, I think maybe he didn't read the fine print of his contract, but I don't know that for sure. But yeah, okay. I mean, there's a reason they're still bringing in defensive line guys. Like I think 3 is probably a good number. I don't know anything about those guys, but that's
Yeah.
what they needed. I think you kind of have a sense. I mean, it's going to be interesting. Does a guy like Dylan Johnson finally play?
Well, he didn't leave like Jamel Howard.
Which I'll be honest, I figured he was 50-50 because I think he played fewer snaps this year than he did last year. Like he only played 2 fewer snaps than Charles Perkins, by the way, which
Right.
I think is, I think his snap count went down. Yeah, he played 140 in 2024.
Right.
So, guys down the roster like that, maybe we didn't know about an injury because they don't necessarily always tell you those, but
No, he was a guy though at this point last year. I think did he go in and come back? Did he go in and come out?
No,
Or
he did not.
But he was somebody that I think they were happy to, or people like us.
Yeah,
fans
we were. I mean, he was a guy.
we're happy to have happy that he didn't leave.
I mean, he was a guy that played 12 snaps a game, his freshman year, and you're like, that's significant.
Yeah,
on a lineman. Right. So we'll see. Seems to be a rotation. The one that I'll actually oh yeah.
Hold on before we move on. Do you think they got enough guys there, and do you think they got enough to replace Reiger, who I think if he had more holding penalties called on him, probably would have had a better season. Because I thought Reiger was a pretty key piece.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was the best thing they got in the portal last year.
Yeah, do you think they replaced him?
I don't think so. I think they're looking for a lot of it internally. I mean, there are questions I have, like why Tyrese Fearbry is still on the roster.
Right? Yeah, right.
But I think they're hoping for Nick Clayton, Sebastian Cheeks to take a jump. That's my best guess. And this guy Lofton was a guy, I think they almost view him as a high school recruit, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, and he's your guy that was down to them.
Yeah.
Out of high school. So staff relationship. But that was, I only interrupted you because I wanted to stay on the D line because I think it's Max's number one rule of football,
Right.
And that's, I think what they did 2024 to 2025, the front seven was so much better than it was the year before.
Right.
Like, so much better. And really at the end of the day, what this team wound up doing last year, you can look back on the front seven and the run defense and all that. And it was pretty much, it was just about where it's supposed to be. I would like to have seen some more sacks, but then, in a game like Illinois, it was all there.
Yeah, no, I think by the end of the year, reputationally, and I think based on what we watched, it was a good defense. Not a great defense. The Badgers had a good defense and an awful offense. And I think the way they did it, I think the calculation is get really good at 2 out of 3 levels. Like last year, it was really good defensive line, excellent, rush edge, like a really good rotation. I mean, they had a really good rotation at those positions, if you think about it. I mean, they were using a lot of personnel, keeping everybody fresh. Everybody had a role. You didn't worry that the secondary was kind of like if Fort Greene came back, I think they would have had an even better defense, obviously.
Yeah.
But, when Zachman got hurt and, you're playing Matt Young and Trainer gets hurt and you're playing Austin Brown out of position, you could make up for that with what's up front. And I think they're trying to do the same thing this year. It's like figure out 2 out of those, 2 out of 3 spots in that depth of the defense to be really good at. And then if the other one is just reasonably decent, you can have a pretty good defense. And I guess that's going to be the theory on offense too. They really want to have really good tight ends and really good running backs. And, if you have a decent quarterback, decent wide receiver, and a reasonable offensive line, you can probably have a decent offense. Like I think they're basically the way they're functioning in the NIL world seems to be that. It's like figure out a way to be deep, if not like superstar level at certain position groups, and that seems to carry the day for them. That's the best I could put in. The only guy that I will say that I was kind of bummed is leaving, and it does deal with the edge rush situation, is Allegro. And I think it's significant that Allegro, where he's going, tells you how he's
pretty good.
See,
he's a pretty good player.
That's where I kind of scratch my head, where it's like, yes, I get Posa and Catalano. Like that is investing in your young players, but at the expense of a really good established player. Like that feels like they're doing the inverse Agard. I guess like I just don't get I guess the calculation there is they have a lot of confidence in those two guys making a big jump. Hosa obviously is the real deal. Catalano, different style of player, but like I get it. But I'm wondering how much of a push was made to make Allegro like believe in the idea. Like he could have been a real edge guy. Like I really do think he could have been a guy.
That's what I thought they were going to do with him. That's what I thought they were going to do.
Maybe he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. And you know, don't forget they have Heiberger still.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and they brought in, was it the Arkansas guy or what?
Oh, Justice Boone.
Yeah. And you know, that's not a 1-for-1 with Allegro, but
well, he's also more an edge.
He's pretty decent. Yeah. And I thought they did okay. And Allegro was probably the one that I was the most bummed about losing.
Yeah. I mean, he's a good player. And I mean, here's the thing. The one thing I'll say before we get into the portal talk of upperclassmen, there are really almost no upperclassmen left that there's nobody who they identified young. That's the problem is you can say it's a function of, modern college football. Okay. And like, who are the upperclassmen that they brought in? Right.
It's not that many. Almost every one of you for that whole portal haul. Yeah. Almost every one of those had 2 or 3 years of eligibility left.
Right. So, I mean, Darian Dupree's a junior. Chris Brooks inherited. Right. I mean, and he's going to be a rotational wide receiver. I mean, nobody on the offensive line. I mean, their guys, granted, are younger.
Chris Brooks breakout.
No. I'm fine with that. But like, but what I'm saying is like, he's one of the few that was going to be Allegro, who, I mean, straddled the two, but like it's right now it's tough. I mean, Dylan Johnson's still on the team. This is the year he's got to break out, but there are not guys that they have brought in and developed that are still around. So we'll see. Let's make a pivot, if I may. Because I have a little surprise for everyone. I spent my Christmas break doing pivot tables.
That was
me clapping.
Platinum wordsmithing right there.
Because before we hang up on this thing, I did want to talk about this portal class, because I am still like, why is everybody super like pumped? And there's some aspects of it where people were just like, wow, this went fast and that's awesome. And I'm like, oh, okay. But like Fickle pretty much said that was going to happen, right? Like he, in those interviews, when they asked him about the portal and how you approach it, he's like, you got to go into it with a plan. And what a plan means is you have to have like unsanctioned conversations with agents. That's all that means. So like they're making offers in December. So like when they're ready to go, they just hit send and everybody hits DocuSign.
So here's the thing with that, okay? You know who doesn't have a portal haul right now?
Who's that?
Miami. You know who doesn't have a portal haul right now? Oregon.
Well, they just got the Minnesota kid, the one.
Right. So my point is, Wisconsin didn't get those 15 extra practices for a bowl game, but they were busy doing other stuff and like ready to unleash the Kraken as soon as the portal formally opened. Whereas a lot of other teams were not. So it's credit on that, but it is noteworthy in terms of like, because the volume was fast and there was a day when there were like 6 of them, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, you don't realize how quickly you can send things out from DocuSign. You can get things 100%.
Done. Oh yeah.
If your terms are already agreed to, everybody.
I'm a lawyer, man. I'm a lawyer, dude. DocuSign is. Oh, you bet.
That's why I said it for you. I figured you'd like that.
No. But you can, I mean, that's pretty readily explained. I'm just glad they made good use of the time because, you know, having gone to Iowa Vanderbilt, it would have been really fun to watch the Badgers at a bowl game.
Would it?
Yes.
Can I tell you?
Yes.
I didn't watch a single bowl game this year. Just like I kind of like forgot they were out there because all you heard was, you know what it is? All the playoff talk turned me off. So I've just sort of like tuned out all the bowl games. It's the first time I've really done that.
The money grab invitational.
Yeah, I guess. I just wasn't. I didn't really care about who was playing in the Holiday Bowl or whatever this year. And I was like, you know what? I'll engage in other pursuits. This is healthy for me.
Yes. Our show has morphed from a solid verbal godchild to at least one half of us Bill King godchild.
Exactly.
But I like money grab invitational, and I can see why that would turn you off too. And I didn't watch the bowl games as closely as I have in years past, but oh no. It's still and now that I'm going to one on a regular basis, no matter who's playing in Tampa, it's really fun. And it was Iowa, so I got to go with my kid. It was great. So, but I would have liked that no matter where no matter where the Badgers would have played, and it probably would have been in like Detroit, but it still would have been fun. So, but to go back to our main topic, they made good use of the time. So let's pivot again.
Yeah, to pivot tables. So yeah, I won't belabor it, but as I said to Chris in his response, he sent us a long email about thinking about the off season. But Chris in the Twin Cities sent us this email, and I was like, well, Chris, we're not answering your question because I think you and I are broadly of the same mindset. So this is the answer to your email, Chris. That was like 700 words.
It was, yes.
Because I was wondering this myself. So I went through and I went back to 2023, start of Fickell's tenure, and I just created a list of all of the portal additions they've made over the years. And I really just wanted to answer 2 questions for myself, or see if there were answers to these questions, which was, 1, what is different about this class thus far, right? Because we haven't seen them play on the field. We can't judge anything from that. And 2, what's reasonable to expect in terms of production from this class? And so I went through and pulled together a really basic data set on everybody, which was just the year they were on the year of their portal, a very broad definition of their position, like inside and outside linebackers get lumped together, corners and safeties, really broad, all specialists, which by the way, there's 3 specialists that came in. Do you know who they are? There's one, I promise there's one, I'll just say this, Vakos, because he came in from, I think, Miami of Ohio. He was a
maybe he was Ohio. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about it in this portal.
No.
No. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Do you know who the other 2 are?
Boy, that's a good question. There was another kicker.
No.
Or did that guy not matriculate?
No.
Because didn't they have 3 at one point? Okay. Well, there's Case and Pfeiffer.
I can't believe I saw him. I was like, oh yeah, that guy. I forgot his name.
Yeah.
And there's one other one. You get the gold star for that one. The other one you can't get because he was in, and I think he was out after the summer. I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
This is who he's not a kicker. No, he's a long snapper.
Oh yeah. I forgot his name, but yep, I know.
Eli Stein. And you know what kicker you're thinking of is the Arkansas kicker that Christ brought in. That's who you're thinking of. Remember, he was brought in 2022, and he broke, his foot snapped off because the turf is crowned or something.
Yes, I do remember that now. Yes. Okay.
He was amazing.
Right,
I forget his name. Someone's gonna yell at us.
Eli Stein. That's right.
But Eli Stein was.
I know they loaded up on long snappers at one point.
So yes. So anyways, I pulled together all these positions. I don't know why I got sidetracked by that, but I found it amusing.
That's okay.
And I took three data points about them from, I think it was 24/7, because they had the easiest one to navigate, was their positional rank in the transfer class. So where 24/7 put them in. And I had to do some auditing in there because some of their transfer rankings are just straight up wrong, where a guy will be a 78, but he's ranked as the 7th best tight end. And you're like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. So I had to correct for that, or the other way around. For some reason in this class, they had Ryan Schwendeman as the 7th best tight end, but he's only an 85. And Jacob Harris was the 19th best tight end, and he's listed as an 87. So I basically just went through and I changed Schwendeman to match where all the 85s were. Because when you some of it, I think it's just coding issues on their site. So I kind of went through and audited the position ranks. I took their transfer rating when they had one. If they didn't have one, I might take a high school one or try to find one that matched. There was a low level guy they took this year who's not rated. So I just looked for where's a low level guy that jumped to Power 4, and most of them were low 80s. So I, gave him an 82. Tried to find something that was close. I ranked where they were prior, and it's basically 3 tiers: Power 4 team, a G5 team, or lower level. So that could be FCS, it could be Division II Grand Valley State. Sneak peek, hint of something that's going to come up later, that kind of thing. So 3 broad tiers. And then the last thing, which you and I worked through, and our committee of elders as well, I sent it to a few people after you and I talked about it. We came up with a very subjective, that's the key word, rating of these players. And it became 4 tiers. Tier 1 was a good player. They were above average player at their position or better. They had to be a starter. They had to make a significant impact, blah, 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 blah. Tier 2, we said, was a replacement level starter. Like, the guy played, 500 snaps in a season and was serviceable.
When we start saying players and their ratings, you'll know.
Yeah. Like, for instance, I mean, we won't get too in the weeds on it, but like you and I said, like the cutoff, the lowest tier 1 guy we said was Joe Huber, right? Mm-hmm. And we said, look, he was 800 snaps 2 years in a row, and his senior year he was third team all Big Ten. I think he was like a day 3 draft pick, right? So all of that sprinkled together said to us, good player. Like that was anything. If he didn't have one of those criteria, he would have been a tier 2. Like he was the bottom of a tier 1. That's why, like, for instance, he ended up a tier 1. Jake Renfro ended up at tier 2. He didn't play as much, a lot of injuries, blah, 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 blah. Then tier 3 was a combination of guys who we said were below average starters or rotational players, right? Like a guy who never quite started or just wasn't a very good starter. Jaheim Thomas jumps to mind. Jeff Petrowski jumps to mind. Johnny Hill jumps to mind. Right? They are guys who were either in a mix or were a starter and maybe weren't so great. Those are kind of those guys. And then the last one, the 4th tier, was non-factor guys, just guys that never produced.
Non-factor, non-contributing, non-factor.
Yeah, non-contributing player. And so using those factors, I came up with sort of like first off, I said, what can you reasonably expect? What's different about this class? Let's start with that. That's a simple one. And the interesting thing to me is there's a lot of ways that this class is more or less the same as the last 3 transfer classes thus far. The average position rank, so the average rank of the players they brought in each class, has been pretty consistent except for last year. So in 2023, the average position rank was 51. Like they averaged the 51st best player at each position. And some of these numbers are a little funky because like there's way more wide receivers in the portal. There's way more cornerbacks, and there's not as many quarterbacks, but these numbers kind of average out because where they were always polling in the portal was pretty consistent. 2024, they averaged 51st again. 2025, they dropped to 70, but this year, thus far, that's the key word, 52. So basically the same average position rank.
52 or 47?
It's 52 because I've updated it since then, what you have.
So it dropped.
I know. Well, you know what it dropped from? Like Malachi Coleman and Jake Anderson. They were both in the hundreds. So
but Malachi Coleman was a 4-star out of high school.
Who's quit on teams twice, apparently.
I know.
I think that tells you how much NIL money they have left, if you'd like it. So the one that you have has updated since then a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
But even if let's say it was 47 or even the 52, to me, it looks pretty consistent with the other ones. Like in 2025, they were 70th, but that's because they averaged out at 127th at wide receiver. Like the guys they polled at wide receiver just weren't rated very high. Like Jaden Ballard was 176 because he'd been sitting for 4 years. Joe Griffin was 103 because he was a second wide receiver on Boston College, right? Like, those kinds of things.
Yep.
So again, just a position rank, pretty consistent, isn't significantly different than they were in the past. So I also looked at their average ratings. And again, I should mention with all these, I excluded the specialists because specialists throw off numbers in a bad way.
Oh, yeah.
They're always rated like 75. So no long snappers, no kickers. And in their average rating has been pretty consistent. Again, in 2023, it was a 0.87. In 2024, it was a 0.88. In 2025, it's a 0.87. And then right now in 2026, again, with those 2 additions, 0.86. So there's not a lot of movement.
And a 0.86 is generally in the mid 3-star.
Yeah. It's like upper half of 3-star, like the 60th or 65th percentile of 3-star, call it that.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, those are basically the same. So that's not significantly different. And quite frankly, it plays out if you look at some of the positions. Like let me pull this up. Let me filter my categories just by, I want to filter and just show myself quarterbacks. Do you know who the highest rated quarterback they ever brought in the portal is? It is not Colton Joseph.
Probably Mordecai.
It is.
No. It is in Mordecai. Yeah.
Tanner Mordecai was a 91. He was the 7th ranked quarterback in that portal in 2023. Colton Joseph is an 87, and he is the 20th ranked quarterback they've brought in the portal. Do you know who the second highest rated, let's just do their rating, quarterback they ever brought in was? You're close. He's the 3rd. It was Nick Evers. So in that first class.
Well, when you asked me for the highest rated one, I was going to say Evers before, but when I said Mordecai, and I'm like, wait, no, it's Evers. So yeah.
Yeah. So Evers was an 89. Braden Locke was an 88. They were 21st and 28. Colton Joseph is 20th. Billy Edwards was 28th at an 87. Danny O'Neill was the 46th, and he was an 86. Hunter Simmons is, and Tyler Van Dyke, Tyler Van Dyke was the second highest. He was a 90, and he was the 17th.
That was going to be my guess, was Tyler.
Yeah. So, sorry. It's Mordecai, Van Dyke, Evers, Locke. That's
my
your
legit guess, because I was messing around with.
Yeah. So that's my bad. I missed him there. I forgot about him. But yeah, so again, I'm not trying to pee in everybody's Cheerios here, but the quarterback isn't significantly different thus far. Now, the one thing that I do think is worth considering is investment, the key phrases. And there is one thing right now that jumps out that's different about this class compared to others, was where they came from. So they have 26 guys in this class, again, as of Tuesday morning here. 20 of them are from Power 4 teams.
Right.
3 of them are low-level guys. 3 of them are G5 guys. That is a significant change from, say, last year, where they brought in 21 guys. Only 6 were from Power 4.
I think that's where a lot of the excitement comes from, to be honest with you.
Well, I think, where is it different? If you're looking at it anecdotally, I think it's like, Javon, you brought in a 2-year starter from Arizona State. John Robinson's interesting, right?
Right.
You brought in a starting safety from Missouri. Interesting. Like, they weren't doing that in the past. Last year, that was Matt Young and Matt Trainer, right?
Right.
So, okay, there are different, that's where I think you can see differences. There are guys that there are less like, you need to project this into something, than there was in the past. So that,
and I think that's where a lot of the excitement comes from too.
Yeah, maybe.
People don't get jacked up about guys from Elon or Grand Valley State, and right or wrong, okay? Because there's a lot of guys that make a jump. I mean,
yeah.
Who is this quarterback you just got from Ferris State? Right?
Yeah.
Right?
It turns out okay.
Yeah, it turns out okay. So I don't know, but I think that's a lot of the reason why people are excited.
Yeah. So let's make a segue, because actually I think that's the segue to the second question that I want to touch on sort of as we wrap. It's like, what can you expect in terms of production? Because then I went through, and as we mentioned, I categorized all of our contributors and said, like, what do you see about that? And again, we're dealing in our subjective numbers. So I will say that. But evaluating the 50 guys that were in the prior 3 transfer portal classes, because obviously we can't categorize the ones in the current one. Out of the 50 they brought in, they had 14 guys that you and I and our council of elders agreed were a tier 2 or a tier 1. So at least a starter level, like a replacement level, decent, solid starter or better, right? So what is that? That's basically a 1 in 3. However, of those 14, half of them came in the first transfer class. So 7 of the 14 in that original 2023 class hit. They actually did pretty well. And I know this is going to get us in trouble and you can yell at me, but it was Mordecai. We put him as a 2. Like, he was like there were some guys who were like, really should have been like a 2.5. Like, he should have been a 2.5, but we wanted to keep this simple.
Tanner Mordecai?
Yeah. You and I like him, but I think it's hard to argue with numbers, but we also took into account injuries and the fact they couldn't snap him a football.
That's what I was going to say. No injuries. I think he would have been tier 1, but that's okay. Whatever.
Yeah. And I forget the other ones we put in there, but the thing about most of them, it's guys like Will Pauling, Jake Renfro, Joe Huber, Nizer Forkerine. The list is all jumbled up, so I'm not going to find it right now. But the key to it in that class was what most of those tier 2 and tier 1 guys have in common is they had close prior relationships with the staff. You had a bunch of Cincinnati guys who followed Fickle, so he already knew what they were. He recruited them and he had them in his program for a year. So they weren't really portal guys. Or you had Grand Valley State guys. Like 2 of the guys that are in here are Jair Suggs, because he ended up playing 450 snaps this past year and was it was like him and Barton as the 1 and the 2, and Nizer Forkarine. So you had Matt Mitchell's guys, who clearly he knew, had evaluated, had a sense of who they were. They tried to get Suggs the year before, they couldn't, right? So
yeah, that's true too.
So these are all prior relationship guys. So as you move forward, you had 7 hit in 2023. In 2024, they brought in 15 guys. So roughly the same number of players. They only got 3 to hit, right? And one of those is like Tawee Walker, who it's very tough, but I'm like 900 rushing yards at 4.5. I got to call him a 2,
you
right?
Give him
like,
a 1. Yeah.
They're like just in there.
He got a helmet sticker from College Football Final 1 week. So
there you go.
I think he's good.
And then this past year, 2025, they brought in 2021 guys, only 4 hit. So you have a couple that are still hanging around that maybe could jump into there, but you're not going to get 10. So the thing, when I look at this, I say, what can I expect? As you get farther away from contact with these guys, the hit rate goes down. Like you're rolling the dice. So I know some of these guys came in because of new coach, like, Mateos brought in offensive linemen, and the new assistant, the cornerbacks coach brought in some guys, and you're like, man, I hope maybe that works. But by and large, it wasn't guys that were being brought in who were prior backups. It was lower level guys through Mitchell, right, who are obviously like outclassing their level of play, or developmental players that they spent a whole year sitting around, not like guys they developed a relationship with in high school, right? So where I get, like, for me, where I have pause is when I see them, like, to tie it all together, like when you're running out Agard or Dylan Jones in favor of portal guys that you don't have a track record of hitting on very well, unless they really aren't portal guys, like they're guys that they're going to have to change how they function, how they evaluate talent, and how they develop it, because they haven't done that yet. So, my pivot tables maybe just reaffirmed what I thought, but that's where I get hung.
Well, it's funny too, because if you went through this exercise, and obviously right now everything's projection, but you can kind of, like you did, pull out some, like the Mateos thing and the, what is it, Peoples, or I can't remember that, the cornerbacks guy, right? There's some prior relationship stuff there, so that helps. I think Jaden Lofton probably is something kind of like that, but they didn't, obviously didn't work with him. So there's some things that can hit it either way. But I think if you looked at this and you looked at the position and then the rating, and if it was higher, let alone substantially higher, I think you could look at that and say, oh, I get it. I get it. Wow, that's pretty cool. They really are doing something here. You know what I mean? It would be easier to get more excited, but if you once you break it down like this and see that, okay, it's pretty much in line with what they've done in the past. The other kind of funny thing too that I thought here was that it felt like there was more of them by volume, by number, by overall number. And there's, what is it? Like, what is the number per class?
Of what? Sorry.
What is it, like 20? Like total players?
This class is 26.
Yeah, this is 20. No. I mean, but what were the prior?
Oh, years? Sorry. 14, 15, and 21.
14, 15. Yeah. So it is more.
It's more.
Yeah. So it's more. So substantially more. So that's probably another reason why you get excited. And as we started off, I mean, that was the plan. So it's just interesting to me because there's also the level of investment, right? Which does it feel like they're spending more money? But at the same time, I don't know if that's just the overall cost of doing business and how this market has gotten to where it's gotten.
Maybe, yeah.
Like the prices have all gone up for everybody, I feel like.
Are they keeping up with inflation?
If you had access, yes. If you had access to that data, I'd be interested to see what the outlay was and how it compared to everybody else and how it compares to the previous years. Because my guess is that they in the previous years, I don't know if they were getting significantly outspent by pure programs.
I think the
Totally
fact
feel
that
for it.
this year they are so heavy in power 4, while it doesn't give
Yes.
you a number, certainly
Yes.
hints at that heavily.
Correct. And
You're
I think
transitioning that over.
that, with the overall numbers aside, I mean, I think that's a justifiable reason for excitement with the ratio of power 4 guys. I think that's justifiable. I think
I
you can be
mean,
excited about that, especially with starters.
Here's what it tells you. I guess their spend is up.
Yes, and that's
Now,
that's where
what
I
I
was
need
going
to
with it.
see,
Yeah.
and the reason I don't get excited, and I guess this is what maybe like where I differ from a lot of people is
Mhm.
I am kind of you know what? I was going to save this to answer a reader question next week, but do you know who Irving Zimmer is? This is how I'm going to end the show.
Okay. I don't think I do.
I have no idea who he is either, but he has an award named after him at Stanford. It is the
Okay.
Most Valuable Player Award.
Okay.
Do you know who won the Irving Zimmer Award this past season at Stanford, where they had a terrible offense, much like Wisconsin, that only scored 18 points?
Is it an offensive lineman?
It is not an offensive lineman. It is a player you know. It is a ball
Oh, it's
carrying.
CJ Williams.
It is
wasn't
CJ Williams.
Yeah.
Do you know CJ Williams led Stanford in receptions, yards, and touchdowns? He won the Triple Crown at receiver. He caught 59 balls for 750 yards and 6 touchdowns, right?
In a craptastic offense.
In a craptastic offense on a crap team. What gives me pause is like you watch when he came in, you're like, oh, high 4-star guy. Like
right.
maybe they put him in an air raid and it takes off. And he caught 15 balls in 23 and 16 in 24. And you kind of like, you saw maybe a glimmer in 24, but you're like, you know what? Obviously misevaluation. They tried. Like he seemed like a nice guy.
Very
he
much
was
so,
like,
yeah.
He got his degree and he's like, I'm going to grad school at Stanford. And I'm like, good for him. Like leverage that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no,
absolutely.
he could like he obviously wasn't that high level recruit, but he caught 59 passes at Stanford in a crap offense. And so it tells me like it fills me with like it just reinforces my belief. Like, you know what? This is Tanner Koziol. He couldn't crack it at Wisconsin.
Speaking of bowl games, he was a star.
And he's on draft boards, dude. Like he's gonna get like day 2, day 3 pick.
Yeah,
so I know
100%.
Mark Hamper bombed out. That's fine, but like that's the part that you got. If you're gonna make me a believer again, you can do it. But like, until they can show that they can convert this.
There's also consensus All-American Skylar Bell for what that's worth.
No, it all falls in the same
consensus
category.
All-American, yeah.
And if you want to put that on the prior, you can put you can put Bell and Williams. Well, that was for long ago, and he's got to dig himself out of that hole. Number one, but also number two, like. That's not Koziol.
And
like Koziol
Skylar
left.
Bell did that at Connecticut.
Yeah, yes, sir. I am aware. I'm getting my tickets to go see Jamel Howard, sir.
Yeah,
I'll be at Rentschler
That's
Field.
where you went. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good way to end the show, though, because that is interesting, and it's also just some of those missed opportunities because if CJ Williams had Tanner Mordecai throwing him the ball the entire first year, and if he had Tyler Van Dyke throwing him the ball the entire second year, maybe it would have looked a little bit different.
I don't think that it's the quarterback.
I don't know, but
he had plenty of Tanner Mordecai. Like I am perfectly. You could say like, oh, he's a late bloomer. Okay. Skylar Bell, late bloomer. Tanner Koziol, a late bloomer. No, he caught 90 balls at Miami. Like they were brought into play.
They were brought into play.
I got to go get my car serviced. I got to get out of here.
Sounds good.
But like again, not to belabor it, but that's my thing is like that's fine. It's the talent deployment, as you like to say, that they have to convince me on because right now they're not. They're not retaining their talent and they're not deploying their talent. So we're gonna come back.
There's some reason for optimism, but like if you're doing that, it's blind faith, and I'm not saying that to be pejorative, but it really is.
That's Fickle's favorite phrase right now, so that makes sense. Next.
Verboten list, remember?
I know, and I said it. Beep that, Cody. Beep
Shame
it.
on
Beep
you.
What was I going to say? Yeah, so we're going to come back, maybe not next week, but the week after. Why don't we do that? Like we'll do a bi-weekly.
Yeah, that sounds good.
We want to do a combo show. As I already mentioned or alluded to, I have burned through one listener question because it was basically what I was going to say today, but we wanted to do a combo show. Wanted to get some listener questions, kind of thoughts you have, missives, send them our way, either through the socials, buckaroundpodcast@gmail.com. Go to buckaroundpodcast.com and there's a contact form, whatever you want to use, just do it.
Complaints, objections, and points.
Yeah, you could call the talk around's open. You could leave it at the talk around's fun because we'll drop the call in the show. That's always fun. You get to be part of the show and show off to your family. Think about that. And think about how sad you'll feel after you play it with pride and then your friends and relatives just look at you confused, like, who are these people and why am I supposed to be impressed? You could do that. But yeah, and then I'm going to try and see how much Old Dominion film exists on YouTube and go watch Colton Joseph. See if you can't give him the Billy Edwards and Danny O'Neill treatment.
It's Division I, so you should, I think you should.
It's always by what the conference does with it. Like, the ACC is the best because it's on YouTube. Like, you just go on YouTube and every single game was
Everyone's
there.
on.
That was the best thing when I was doing Tyler Van Dyke, because it was just right there and you could hop around and it was great. So I'm going to figure something out there and see what he seems like. I think on that note, Max, we wrap?
I think we're good.
All
yes. Right. Until that next time.
Until the next time, everybody. Oh, one other thing. Housekeeping. It has been brought to our attention. I think CJ mentioned it in his email. Chris, not CJ. Chris from the Twin Cities. His email keeps coming up today. Even though I've been pausing the Patreon, we keep getting like half people. I don't know why half of you are getting charged, just so you know. Just so you know, when we say that, we truly think we are paused. Like, I'm hitting pause and it's supposed to pause for a month, but I apologize. I mean, I know it's like $3 or $5 and it's not the end of the world to most people, but just so you don't think we're like saying something and then not doing it, trying to sound like cool dudes, we're not.
That's a straight up tech issue.
It's a straight up Patreon issue. And I hope you're okay with the fact that I'm not going to invest that much time trying to figure it out, but like, just so you know, we're not doing it on purpose because I can't figure out why it's doing that. Yeah, that's all. So
submit for her refund.
Yeah, I mean, I can theoretically send back people like who get charged, but it's like a massive amount of time. I looked at it just trying to figure out like how things work.
It's truly a donation.
Yeah,
not show support.
So I apologize. We're not. Max and I are not doing anything with your $3 a month. I
have a charity breakfast that I work on once a month. It's $12 for adults, or 50. I think it's up to 15, whatever. But most people give you 20 and say keep the change. So the 5 is a donation.
So I apologize to you, but we're not trying to scam you in any way. This is a great way to end the show, by the way, is we're not trying to scam you.
We're not trying to scam you.
Because that's what people who aren't trying to scam you say.
It all goes back into show production anyway.
Yes. So. I now need to go get my car serviced with the show money, by the way.
Yes.
That's really what it is.
I don't know. You're
sorry, buddy. I'm going to see if I can figure it out, but I just did want to mention it. All right. On
sounds
that note,
good.
See everybody in a week and a half.
All right. Very good.
Bye.
Bye.
Enjoy the conversation? Head on over to buckaroundpodcast.com to find all the ways to connect with the show, links to our Patreon page, and feeds for every major podcasting platform. We want to thank each and every one of our patrons. You make this podcast possible. This has been The Buck Around, Badger football analysis from a fan perspective.